YouTube, what is good? It's your man Ribs from Doing Film Things. So as you know, a month ago I went to Italy. I went down to Sicily and was chilling, taking a bunch of photos, relaxing. I shot a ton on my Rolleiflex, and I also shot a bunch of images on my Olympus OM20 using Kodak Vision3 250D. So I shot 3 rolls of that towards the end of my trip. And in this video today, not only am I going to show you all of the images and the footage from that particular shoot, but also we have a special guest. We're going to be talking to Jeremy from QWD. He is one of the founders, and he basically is going to talk us through his experience bringing QWD chemicals to Europe via Analogue Wonderland. We're going to talk about the movie film industry, and of course we're going to talk about Vision3 and kind of the intricacies of that film. So use the timestamps below if you want to kind of jump around the video, but let's go ahead and look at some of the footage from me shooting in Italy. Nora, what's good?
Hi.
Show them what camera you got.
AE1 program.
Of course, I got my OM20, and just look at the size difference here. Look at how big that camera is compared to mine.
Mom and baby.
I like the little cameras.
I like the big, chunky, heavy one.
We're cruising around Cefalù right now, and it's very quiet, and the weather's perfect, so getting some great photos. Photo time?
Huh?
Is it portrait time?
Yeah.
Nora, why are you copying me and taking every photo that I take?
I'm not. You're copying me and taking every photo.
Look at this. You see that photo? I'm gonna take the same exact photo. Well, thanks again for hopping on. Definitely excited to talk to you and to kind of go through what's going on your end. So the big news, obviously, is that the QWD kits have finally hit the UK. And I guess by virtue of that, it means they're hitting Europe and potentially even farther. So just talk to me through that. What was the process like getting something that was available only in the US, and what kind of hurdles you have to overcome to get that over to the UK and hopefully to all of Europe?
Yeah, for sure. I think, a lot of it is the process in itself. And if you actually look at the SDS of it, everything is very friendly in regards to shipping. And that isn't necessarily the case with a lot of other kits. So being in a powder form, number one, really brings down the shipping costs, and it also allows it to be shipped around the world, which is awesome. But yeah, it's cool because we are in the UK. There's a few people in the EU that are going to be picking this up, have picked this up. We're going to be announcing pretty soon. And
Nice.
a lot of requests from a lot of different places, even like Dubai. They're like, hey, can we get these kits?
That's awesome.
These are rad. So it's going around the world, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've noticed personally, but also just in general, I've seen a lot of demand for people wanting to shoot Vision 3. I don't even remember how I kind of got wind of that and decided that was something I wanted to try. But I think eventually when I realized this was a thing, and then I went on eBay and saw people are selling pre-rolled 35 millimeter for like $4 or $5. I was like, I have to shoot this. Like, why the hell not? So I think that's kind of trickling around now, and a lot of people are shooting Vision 3. I was even part of a little group that bought a whole 400 feet?
400 feet,
yeah. We bought a 400-foot roll and then chopped it up for 15 people. And I think we each got 5 or 6 rolls out of that. So the economics make sense, you know. So I'm definitely happy that those kits are now getting around, because a lot of people want to develop this stuff. Yeah, you keep saying we. So I think for everyone who's watching, tell us a bit about, like, who is this we? You know, you come from, I guess, the motion picture industry. How do you transition from something like that and take that world and kind of move into film photography?
I ask myself that every morning sometimes, but it's been a wild ride, and it really started out from necessity, you know. And when I was coming up in film, I had shot on film a little bit, and then everything moved to digital. So I was shooting on, you know, Aries and, you know, Alexas and Reds. And what I had found, what I was doing was I was taking, like, you know, kind of like shitty cine lenses, like Rokinons or something. And I was pushing up, like, say, like the red code or the ISO. And I was really getting texture. What I was really doing was emulating film. Yeah. And that's when we were all just like, we were just over it. No matter what you did, like, everything was coming out the same, you know? But they really did this amazing job at emulating the look and feel of film. And that really only did for about 5 years, in my opinion. And then everything became relatively homogeneous.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's actually pretty nuts. Like, there's some really cool cameras out there that you're like, wow, this looks rad. And that was the thing, was like, film was still a competitor at that time, and it was still, you know, relatively the gold standard. So they're like, we have to make something that looks like film. Yeah, it's, you know, we kind of started out, I keep saying we, but you know, friends that I've worked with and colleagues and people that even work here, you know, we wanted to shoot motion picture film more often. So we kind of started to acquire a lot of these cams that, you know, people thought were paperweights at that point. A lot of money right now.
Of course, yeah.
But you know, we really, like, I started to use it to just understand, you know, film more in the dynamic range and the latitude and all these different things. And what actually happened for me as a director, it really established, like, my aesthetic and my vibe and my colors that I always work with, and that really, like, allowed me to be even more confident in what I was doing when I would go out and do projects. So we, you know, we're getting short ends a couple different places, and sometimes it was, you know, coming off a project or something. But you know, I actually remember some of my first short ends. I think they were from, I want to say Star Wars, which is pretty cool. So I was, like, super pumped. I was like, oh man, this is literally like movie.
That's
Well, it was hilarious until you cross-process it, and then that's when we, like, ran into problems. So that was when we really start to look at, you know, the differences on a chemical level between C41 and ECN2.
Yeah. And what time period would you say this is? You're talking like 2 years ago or like 5 years ago?
Probably like 5-6 years ago at this point. Yeah. And, like, this was, like, literally getting, you know, bulk chems and mixing it based off of, like, you know, info on forums and stuff.
Of course.
Like, that was kind of the problem, was, like, there was really no set way to do it. You know, Kodak has kind of put back in place a lot of literature and stuff, but when I started messing around, like, none of that was really available. So it was trial and error, and, you know, like, it was like the Wild West for me. But I literally spent a good year, like, basically in a basement, like, doing all of this testing. And it's funny because, like, I even have, like, a bunch of photos of one lamp in our living room that I kept taking over and over, because the lighting was great. It was, like, the colors are good. It was just, like, the color balance is right, and I just kept, you know, shooting it, and I try it and see, and all these different things. So yeah, like that's kind of, you know, like I said, we started out of necessity, and then we kind of recognized quickly, you know, what we had done. And granted, like other people have for sure done it in the past, but we just, you know, did it in a way that in its current form makes it accessible to everyone. Yeah, I mean, we're going for all of it. I think I just got 25,000 feet of Fuji stock that was kept in a freezer since like day one.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's nuts. My girlfriend wants to kill me, dude. You have no idea. Like,
so are you running your operations out of home right now, or
no,
do you have a?
We have like a really rad workspace up in West Philly that we were doing a lot of production out of there. And once we grew to scale, we literally couldn't keep up with that demand. So what we did was partner with, I guess you could say like a co-packer or, a manufacturer that we work hand in hand with that really allowed us to get to the volume to sustain this idea of worldwide sales.
If you're still around watching this video, definitely really appreciate you. Thanks for watching.
It's been cool, but we are working on the film thing, and we're working really hard in 65 millimeter too.
I haven't shot any of that. I definitely am excited to get my hands on some of that.
Dude, it's killer. And it's actually nuts too. It's like, you know, one of our distributors in Canada was saying that this is like the first time in, I think, 30 years that he shot 35 millimeter, and it was 50D. And the reason was that he shot it to test it, and he took a medium format digital camera and scanned it, and he put it up against 120. And believe it or not, like, he swears like the resolution is damn near the same as you would get out of 120. And if you look at the mechanics behind it, and you know, the density of silver and all these different things, it makes sense because these things had to be projected many, many times its size versus, you know, getting like a 5x7 print or something like that. And obviously, if you're printing film in C41, the next jump up, and you know, if you're doing something bigger, you'd go 120 or medium format, you know. So.
Exactly. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Why do you think, you kind of touched on it, but why do you think people love the product so much, like the Vision 3 product?
Man, I think there's like a ton of reasons. I think that number one, it's affordable. Way more affordable compared to, you know, a lot of the film on the market right now. And also it's a genuine process, you know, and that's the thing, is like, it's the native process. And when you talk about dynamic range and highlights and maintaining all of that and getting the characteristics of what this film should be, you know, that's really the only way to do it. So I think that's, you know, a pretty big draw too. And it's new. I mean, that's definitely a thing. Like, you know, no one's really doing it, you know, so everyone's like, oh shit. But what was interesting was like motion picture film shooters were like, and like, we've been literally waiting forever for somebody to do this. And then like the still side was like, oh, this is cool, but should I just keep cross-processing in C41? I don't know, yeah. So it was interesting that like, there's like two different camps doing essentially the same work. One's just, you know, motion and one's still, and just the two different, you know, differences in it. So I think the last thing too is it's a part of cinema, man. Like, who doesn't want to shoot on their same film stocks as their favorite directors? Like, you know, it doesn't get any cooler than that, you know?
So I do have a question there, because I was doing some research in terms of like why, for example, C41 film was created, and then why ECN2 exists. C41, as I understand it, that entire process was for film that was meant to be printed, and printed in a darkroom. ECN2, theoretically, that's not the purpose of it, because it's for movies. So is there anything you can tell me about like the fundamental kind of use case for this motion film, and then how that translates into the fact that it scans very well and perhaps not printing, or you know, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So I'm gonna make some kind of misstep, and somebody's gonna call me out. I guarantee it. But
that's what happens on the internet, man. It's all good.
It's like, you know, with C41, like you said, you know, that was meant to be printed. It was print film, and as a result, like, from my knowledge and what, you know, I think is correct, is that, you know, as a result, if you're just, you know, printing 5x7s or something, you know, the Walgreens like you used to, you know, you didn't really have this requirement to have, you know, this, you didn't have to have it printed many times its size, like I said. And as a result, like you have like bigger, chunkier highlights and particles of silver, and as a result, like the couplers are appropriately sized, and the formation of all that it makes an image. And on the other side of that, the motion side, and like I said, it does have to be projected many times the size. So, like for instance, 50D, incredibly fine grain, and as a result, it's just finer highlights, and it's the chemistry is different to preserve all of the latitude within that. Yeah. And I think interesting point is that motion picture film stock could be I guess you could say like lower contrast, and that had a lot to do with like prints being made and then all these creative decisions made after the fact. But what's interesting about Vision 3 in particular, and even a lot of the older film stocks too, they're really meant for a DI interface, or digital intermediate, meaning it was designed to be scanned.
Exactly.
And like I said, those things that make motion stock great, it's interesting to look at C41, and like you said, it was designed to be printed. It wasn't necessarily even designed to be scanned. I guess you could say that maybe XR and Portra, the newer ones, but it was a print-based format. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's a lot of big differences to us at least, and the scanning is a big part of it too. There's just something about you, like, what is it that just makes this look like a movie? And really, it's just like silver on a film base, so it really shouldn't make that much of a difference, but it does.
No, that's good. I think I honestly, I don't think people care why. They just know how they feel, and they like it. And I'm seeing a lot of really good stuff online right now, so I'm happy that this is really scaling and growing, because I don't know, I like the fact that you're going to be offering stuff already pre-rolled. That makes such a big difference. On eBay, I've had good luck. Fortunately, I've been lucky, and I buy pre-rolls that are in good condition. But you could have these giant fingerprints. They could have light leaks. It could have scratches, like all kinds of stuff. And you never really know what you're going to get from there. No, it's definitely good to have new entry into the market, because the more people doing business in film, definitely the better for the consumer. I'm curious, any recommendations you have for people who are shooting any of the Vision 3? Are there any best practices, whether developing, shooting, just like anything that immediately you'd be like, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and that's how you get the best results?
You know what? No. And like, that's what's weird is like, everyone has this, like, they're always like, oh, hey man, like, how do I push process? And I want to do like a 2-stop push. And like, I'm like, hey, like, just start out just shooting it like at box speed, because it's beautiful, and then like, then get weird with it. But like, that's my recommendation, is honestly like play around with the latitude and play around with, these ideas of push processing and getting these different characteristics and using that as a way to possibly, shoot in a lower light condition or whatever the case is. But my advice is to start out and just shoot it and just love it and understand it, and then get weird with it, and figure out.
Well, thanks again for joining. Like I said, this has been super helpful. So definitely looking forward to seeing how the community kind of takes this on, and definitely looking forward to seeing more Vision 3 getting developed and shared with everybody out there.
Yeah, well, we are a huge fan of your work, and we're always excited just as much as you are. So I did want to say real quick too, is that we found this really cool feature in Instagram where you can essentially leave people voice messages, and we'll kind of like a lot of times get these like really dense like DMs and stuff. And you're just like trying to type it out. And then we're like, wait a second, like, let's just like send people like a voice memo. And it actually works really well, because you could really knock it out and be clear and concise. And so if anybody has any questions about processing, about, doing it for the first time or whatever the case is, honestly, shoot us a DM on Instagram. And it's probably way easier than email, to be honest with you. It's definitely a quicker response, and, it's a little bit more personal. So don't be afraid to reach out,
There you have it, everyone. You've got open season. Enjoy. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what was the most interesting thing you learned in this interview. I'm curious if there's anything that was new and kind of caught you by surprise. Talk to me down below. So that's what I got for today, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and like the video. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more content like this. Until the next video, y'all. Peace.